You will not believe what I'm about to show you in this video, because yesterday there was a Q&A held with Blizzard staff, with the Blizzard president, in which he basically told them, if you don't like what we're doing in terms of our new policies, mainly return to office policies, which kind of don't make much sense, then you're just leave. We don't care. He also says that certain roles in the company just are not as good as other roles. So if you're a Q&A developer, then your work is not as essential as somebody else. Yet Q&A is you need Q&A. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, referring to roles as stepping stones, and also compares his own pay back to the workers' pay and says like, yeah, we're all in the same boat together, even though he makes millions. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So that's only the top of it as well. You actually will not believe what is in this video, because I thought things were changing with Blizzard, but apparently no, they're not. So let's start with this. This is Justin Groot, and this is what first got my attention, because Justin is a senior narrative writer on Overwatch 2. Now, he tweeted this out. He says, leadership does bad stuff. Lots of workers quit. Now, this is in reference to, you know, what went on with the harassment case, which was driven by leadership, just turning a blind eye to things, and just everything being absolutely terrible. So workers quit. This is when a lot of talent leaves Blizzard. Like, and I'm talking like generational talent which you will not find anywhere else. Talent which grew up inside a Blizzard ecosystem, which then left, right? People who you would think would never, ever leave Blizzard. You know, we can say, look at the likes of Jeff Kaplan and that lot leaving Blizzard. You would never even expect them to leave the company, right? You think they were there until they die, but no, they leave because things started going down the pan, right? So you lose a lot of talent. Then productivity suffers because you've just lost a lot of talent, right? If you remove people out of teams, it's going to be hard because you've got to fill the gap, right? You can't just plug somebody in and go, off you go. If you take on a new hire, they're going to take months to get up to speed. Probably take like 3, 4, 5 months just to even get up to speed with the way the development works on whatever game that they're working on inside Blizzard. Anyway, he goes on to say, leadership blames remaining workers for drop in productivity, implements wildly unpopular RTO policy, which is the return to office policy, which we'll go into detail on in a bit, and tells workers if they don't like it, they can quit. And by the way, it's the president that says this. It's not very good, is it? Also, so lots of workers will probably quit, and then question marks, and then goes on to say this, which I think is quite sad, because I don't work for Blizzard. I just make YouTube videos, right? But it pains me when I see people that have worked on Overwatch for years, people as well that I've met in real life, and I've listened to them and how passionately they talk about this game, yeah, leave the company. And I think, wow, what has happened to make them leave the company? Well, it's terrible. That's why they've left the company. But those people have got an incredible passion for the game. Anyway, I read this and it says, so many people have left during my time on the team. So many people have left on my time on the team that I can't even sign the kudo boards anymore. I hate the very sight of an email with a kudo board in the title field. Now, I'm not sure what that is, but I think it's probably, you know, if someone leaves, they probably send an email around saying, let's thank so-and-so for their work or whatever. And he's so destroyed by seeing these constantly, he doesn't want to see them anymore, and he doesn't respond to them. But it gets better. So then we've got another person. This is Brian Bedford. He is the senior character artist on Play Overwatch. And this is what he says. After today, my confidence in leadership now only extends to Team 4 and no further. Now, Team 4 is the Overwatch development team. What an absolute mess of a week. We just want to make cool games, man. Why does it matter where we do it from? Now, this is in reference to the return to office policy. Now, we will get into detail, or we will go into detail on this in a moment when we break down this massive article, which just absolutely goes into detail on everything that happened in this Q&A. But essentially, it's ridiculously expensive to live in Irvine. In California, Irvine, it is so expensive. And a lot of these people, these developers, have been working from home since, I think, 21, I want to say. And they've been working effectively. Remember, Blizzard has had its best quarter ever in Q4, and all of that work was done from home remotely. So Blizzard can facilitate this work. But this is the key thing to take away here, guys, right? If you've moved across the country somewhere, and then suddenly you're being told you need to get into the office, that means you need to sell wherever you're living, go back into the office, which, how does that really help you? Because you're still productive where you are. But it's not as easy as that, because also obviously the cost is ridiculously expensive around the Irvine area, and also just in California in general, I suppose. But it's also to do with compensation, how much wages staff get paid, which isn't nowhere near the levels of other game companies. Like Riot and EA, they pay more. Well, I know Riot does. I can't really just throw EA in there. I'm not sure. But Riot generally does pay better wages than Blizzard and has got a better standard for the workers. Although Riot has its own issues, so it's not like everywhere is great. But it's the cost, yeah? Very expensive. What happens if you've got a family? What happens if you've got a mortgage? What happens if you've got dependencies? What happens if you've got complex healthcare that requires cost and you need to live in a certain area? Like, you can't just uproot your life. You're very privileged if you can. Most people can't. You know, they need to either leave their job and go and work somewhere else, and that's where the problems start arising. Blizzard do not need more people leaving their company, right? Because who the hell is going to be left? This is it's a legitimate question. Brian then goes on to say, the Wizards on Warcraft shipped the whole game work from home. The Overwatch team shipped while work from home. The Diablo crew is about to do the same. Does it really matter where our collective butts are physically located in time and space if we're able to do all of that? Which is valid. Then we get another comment here. So this is from an internet goblin who's a senior mission designer on Overwatch. And he says, I love my co-workers and the dumb games we get to make. Days like today make me wonder if I should leave. Like, why should your staff be publicly going, I wonder if I should leave? I mean, that is just bad. That is comically bad leadership. But the games I've worked at on Blizz and their communities are my home. I'm just sick of the demoralization cycle. You know, this is going to be quite controversial, but I'd say just leave. Because I've seen this comment from a lot of people that worked at Blizzard, specifically people that worked in Blizzard Versailles, saying like they didn't want to leave because they were connected to the game. They were connected to the community. But you talk to those people now, and they're like, it's the best decision I ever made. I couldn't believe how like indoctrinated I was into the way Blizzard was handling stuff. And so I don't know, just leave. Fuck it, leave. Life's too short. That's my crazy advice. But again, it's not as easy as that, is it? Because we don't know anybody's life situation, and you can't just leave, right? I mean, whatever. So it's rich for me to say that. But the point remains, the fact that staff are actually saying this is just insane. But it goes on. So then we get Dylan Schneider. He's a senior game designer on Overwatch 2. And he says, I've been in the industry for nearly 10 years, and I've never, ever been embarrassed by leadership figures I am in this moment. So literally, he hasn't seen anything like this in 10 years. Kate Anderson. Now, they say, Q&A is a valid career path and should be treated like such. We are developers. We are the support class for game development. Blizzard leadership alluding to some roles only being stepping stones is such an incredibly insulting thing to say to workers. Because this is Mike Ybarra, the president, basically saying Q&A is just a low-tier role. You know, we don't really need Q&A. Without Q&A, your games are riddled with bugs and they don't work. And you're supposed to be a company that's delivering live service games, but which bugs will literally break and you will make no money. You idiot. It's crazy. Anyway, this is the guy if you want to follow him. I don't follow him. I did for a while, but honestly, I found a lot of his tweets quite contrived. So I just unfollowed him. But to be honest, Twitter's garbage anyway. But he just tweets like what's this? Anyway, whatever. I'm not interested in following this guy. So we're going to go to this. Now, this is the big article we're going to break down. This is where the juice is, because this you will not believe. So a Q&A with Blizzard leadership on return to office bonuses leaves devs fuming. Nice title. Good use of the word fuming. So get this. It's just unbelievable. Comments by Blizzard Entertainment president Mike Ybarra during a company-wide Q&A session took staffers by surprise today and left many at the studio further enraged by how Activision Blizzard's recently shared return to office mandate would be implemented for the studio behind World of Warcraft and Overwatch 2. During the meeting, it was scheduled to discuss the results of an internal employee satisfaction survey. Ybarra and other studio executives took pre-screened questions about a number of topics that recently put the company's internal policies in the public eye. So straight away, you know, and again, it's easy for me to say this. I'm not some American suit CEO style geezer, and that's been the way I've been brought up. But like, this is garbage. Why do they take pre-screened questions? You know, this is what I've always hated about Blizzard anyway. Like, whenever I've been to events with Blizzard, or if you've interacted with Blizzard PR or whatever, everything's all scripted. Nothing is ever real. It's never like just a sit down chat and everything's fine and you're talking to an actual normal human. It's like you're talking to someone who's just reciting off passages from a PR handbook. It's crap. And to do that to your actual staff, I mean, that is shocking. You're not going to relate to anyone like that. In fact, you're just going to distance yourself further from your employees. Terrible leadership, right? Ridiculous. Anyway, so these topics included questions about its supposed use of stack ranking, the recent internally shared news that all Blizzard employees would receive a lower percentage of profit share bonus for the year 2020, and the recent announcement that all employees would be required to at least partially return to on-site offices in the coming months. Now, remember, if you live across the country, imagine if I live in New York and Blizzard's in California. That's a pretty far way to go. You know what I mean? My family, my life is in New York. I've got to go to California for like 3 days a week. What the hell? It's absolutely mental. And it makes no difference. Anyway. News that Blizzard employees would be only receiving 58% of their profit sharing bonuses came as a particular surprise to developers at the company, especially after an especially strong fourth quarter and following a year where the company managed to ship a wide array of successful games and expansions. So yeah, basically their best quarter they've ever had. And they decided to not give them all of their profit sharing bonus because, well, we haven't had a good quarter, but we've had the best quarter. It's like, what is going on? It makes no sense. Ybarra's reported responses to employee questions included comments so outrageous that around 12 p.m. Pacific, Blizzard employees and their friends and family took to Twitter to lambast company leadership, which is what we've been through at the start of this video. In these comments, Ybarra allegedly made a bizarre comparison to his and other executives' pay packages to those of rank and file employees, appeared to downplay the value of Q&A and customer service roles at the studio, and defended the company's decision to slash annual profit sharing bonuses. If your company does well, listen, I don't understand. Like Nintendo have been doing this at the moment. They've increased the wages of all their Japanese-based staff by 10%, I believe. Anyway, if your company does well, imagine if you make a product and it makes tons of money and the company's doing well. What would you do to those people that made that product? Would you go, yeah, we're only giving you like half of your bonus this year because, but they're like, hang on, we made something which is amazing. You'd give them more, wouldn't you? You give them more because you don't want them to leave. You just can't work it out. It's crazy. Like, why do they, that's a simplistic view of it probably from my perspective, because it's probably to do with balance sheets. It's probably to do with short-term appearances to, probably to Microsoft because they're hoping to, still get through with the buyout. Although that's basically the buyout has just literally been agreed. It's so long as all the various, I don't even know what they call it, like trade bodies or whatever in the various, European Union, but I think this agencies in Britain have got issues with it, and obviously is it FTC, Federal Trade Commission in the US have got issue with it. But the deal is done, yeah. So I don't know. I just don't get why. Anyway, I don't know. It's just to me, it seems simple. If company employees make a good thing, you give them a reward. You don't take stuff off them when it's quite clear that you've just made a load of money off it. Absolutely stupid. Anyway, game developer was able to get in touch with several sources close to Blizzard Entertainment who either attended the meeting or were aware it took place, or requested confidentiality in order to speak freely about the meeting, whose contents the company has not made available to the public, which obviously they wouldn't. I'm surprised no one has recorded this, though, and uploaded it somewhere. They probably have, but who knows. Anyway, what did Mike Ybarra say to the employees? This is the big thing. What surprised developers the most were statements made by Ybarra that might be considered tone deaf. Now, remember, Mike Ybarra, like if we go over to his thing here, he likes to come off like he's not tone deaf. Like he likes to tweet like, hey, man, I'm playing whatever raid in World of Warcraft and, I get you guys. It's all great. Look, cool. Let's retweet some community stuff. Oh, yeah, it's great, man. Everything's great. Oh, check out my orc. Woo. Let's retweet some more of this. Let's do a bit of it. Woo. So I'm down with the guys. And then the guy's like, not down with the guys at all. Anyway. A spokesperson for Blizzard confirmed that the Q&A took place and that the comments provided to game developer were accurate. So Blizzard have actually confirmed. They've said, yeah, this is true. This is true, right? Just crazy. Right then. Frustration apparently began to boil as the Q&A went on, particularly during a conflicting back and forth discussion of how the company ranks worker performance. Ybarra reportedly downplayed comments made by lead software engineer Brian Birmingham, who criticized the company's use of stack ranking policy, which that he claimed would force him to punitively rank an employee whose performance he found to be satisfactory. I mean, a really stupidly bad explanation of stack ranking is that someone's always got to be at the bottom, which doesn't really make sense, because if you've worked on something and the thing that you've made is great, why is somebody at the bottom? Like, it's arbitrary. It's like, okay, you've got 10 employees, let's say, someone needs to be number 10, and the person that's number 10 doesn't get their rewards at the end of the year. They don't get their bonus. They don't get this. They don't get that. That's what stack ranking is, and it's kind of pointless. Like, it's an old... I think Microsoft used to use it years ago, and even they came out and said, oh, it's just the worst thing ever. We don't use that anymore. Anyway, which is kind of funny, because didn't he work for Microsoft, Mike Ybarra? I think he did, didn't he? Wasn't he something to do with Halo? Anyway. Or something to do with Xbox, wasn't he? Whatever. Anyway, so Ybarra reportedly downplayed the comments, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, after reportedly defending the ranking system currently in place, Ybarra began making comments that would truly anger employees. These began with a statement that seemed to imply Blizzard Entertainment executives are equally impacted by the decision to slash the annual profit-sharing bonus. According to several sources, Ybarra stated something to the effect of, if you think that executives are making a lot of money and you aren't, you're living in a myth. Have you seen the houses the executives live in at Blizzard? Oh, yeah. Here's my multi-million-dollar house in some pissing stupid place in Irvine. In the context of the discussion, Ybarra's statement was technically factual. Blizzard's decision to cut the profit-sharing bonus to 58% does apply equally to all employees, executives included. So cutting it to 58%, I'm not sure if it's down from 100%. I don't know what the percentage was to begin with, but it is cut down. I might have said earlier that it was cut in half. That might not be true, but basically it's cut. And it shouldn't be, because they made more money. It makes no sense. Anyway, in the context of the discussion, I've just read that, but I'm not going to read it again. So in a broader context, sources agreed that Ybarra's statement, and particularly the implication that employees are living in a myth, doesn't make sense. Test analysts at Blizzard Entertainment's Irvine County headquarters make as low as $22 an hour, about $45,000 per year. According to a job posting on the website Indeed. When cross-referenced with MIT's cost of living calculator, that barely meets the standard of living wage in the high-cost region, where the cost of housing can run as high as 158% above the national average in America. If a lower-paid worker at Blizzard Entertainment doesn't receive that bonus, they have less money to spend on gas, rent, or groceries, let alone luxuries or student loan repayments. Mike Ybarra, who earns a much higher salary and additional compensation as the president of the company, does not face those same concerns. But he seems to think that he does, because we've all had a pay cut. Oh no, woe is me. One source speaking to Game Director said that an internal Slack channel where developers could discuss the Q&A exploded in response to this comment. The Q&A took place over Zoom, where Blizzard management turned off the ability to chat during the call. Employees were apparently only able to respond to Ybarra's answers by using emoji responses. Again, a typical thing, isn't it? It's like, oh no, we can't have you guys talking back to us, because you just get the chat, cut the chat. They're like, delete the VOD. Oh my days, it's so bad. I have to wonder how these people end up with these jobs. They're just so disconnected from reality. Anyway, Blizzard employees were concerned about the slashing of annual profit bonus, partly because of Activision Blizzard's announced plans to require all employees to resume to working at in-person offices, at least in a hybrid capacity. So again, like, this all comes back to this. If they're going to slash their profit share to their employees and then tell them they've got to come back to an extremely expensive place to live, as they won't have a job, it doesn't make sense. Imagine if they went, we're doubling the profit share or increasing it somehow, and we want you to come back to work from office, work in the office. It wouldn't be as bad. It still will be terrible, because people have made their lives elsewhere, right? And inherently, this entire industry can be remote, Anyway, though some workers have remained worried that an end to remote work would increase developers exposed to COVID-19, others were more concerned about how a return to office would lead to increased expenses for those hired as remote-only workers or those facing longer commutes. So again, that's another thing. I think about the people that have been brought on board for Overwatch 2. I mean, Overwatch 2's got a new community management team. I don't think they all live in California. In fact, I don't think any of them do. Don't quote me on that, though. But, like, what about them? If they got to, suddenly go to California, they might live the other side of the country. What? High housing costs and inflation have eaten into the incomes of workers from many fields in the last 2 years, and employees facing such mandates are grappling with increased personal costs that come with them. If a worker was hired as an all-remote employee, they might not live near one of the required offices. Yeah. and would have to pay to move out of pocket. If they do live nearby, they would have to begin factoring in the cost and time of commuting into their lives. Activision Blizzard's return to office policy does not appear to contain any corresponding pay bonuses to blunt these new costs. So they're just like, get back in the office or leave. According to our sources, Ybarra responded to a question that argued this return to office policy would cause the company to lose talent at an inopportune time. The questioner asked what leadership intended to do to prevent such departures, which is a great question. And Ybarra did not provide any clear action plans to retain talent, though it was apparently shared elsewhere that Blizzard would open up new offices in other locations which can act as a hub. Okay. However, he did reportedly say the following: at the end of the day, if you're talking to someone and they go, at the end of the day, it basically means fuck you and listen to this, because it's the way it's going to be. At the end of the day, we want people to be happy. Yeah. And if decisions about being happy don't align with where we're going, and you won't be happy, then you'll have to do what will make you happy, which is basically saying, look, if you don't agree with what we're doing and you're not happy, then leave, which is fair enough. You leave the company. It's a free market, country, world, whatever. Get out of there, you know. But like I said before, it's not as simple as that, because people have got dependencies and you can't just leave. And this is shocking. Like, he's saying at the end of the day, we want people to be happy, yet instigating policies which make people unhappy. It's moronic. It's absolutely moronic. It's crazy. I've read through this article like 3 times, and I cannot believe how every time I read through it, I'm like, what in the actual hell is this? Sources we spoke with independently said they interpreted that comment as suggesting that employees who do not like the return to office policy should leave, which it is. It totally is. Activision Blizzard's spokesperson confirmed the accuracy of the comment, only adding that Ybarra stated the company would listen to the team's feedback and balance it with what's best for the business and serving players long term. Concerns over the personal financial impact of Activision Blizzard's return to office policy were especially high amongst those paid lowest at the company, particularly those in the quality assurance or customer service departments, which again are integral to live service games. Blizzard wants to be a live service game company. Activision Blizzard's spokesperson confirmed Mike Ybarra made that comment. Oh, sorry, I missed it because it's the shocking bit. Sources weren't fully able to describe how the line of conversation pivoted to those two fields, but in that discussion, Ybarra reportedly said something to the effect of, some of our disciplines are not long-term disciplines, in reference to those departments. Activision Blizzard's spokesperson confirmed Ybarra made that comment. According to them, those disciplines are considered not long-term disciplines because the company wants people to grow and take an expanded responsibility and opportunity. They said that Activision Blizzard has many programs to support that growth. Okay. That's still a rather surprising sentiment to hear from a company leader in 2023. Our sources agreed that this was meant to imply that the company does not value quality insurance or customer service as fields where employees could establish long-lasting careers and earn benefits packages equivalent to fields like game design, programming, art, or audio. From our sources' accounts, this comment created morale. Quality assurance workers across the video game industry have spent the last decade pushing for better working conditions and arguing that the field deserves recognition on its own and that it shouldn't just be treated as a stepping stone for a more prestigious role. Ybarra reportedly classifying those disciplines as not long-term disciplines seems to justify the decision to pay workers in those fields relatively lower rates, which makes sense, right? If the boss is saying these are just low positions, they're not going to pay. They're just not going to pay good rates for them, are they? Yet they're essential positions, essential to the operation of the company. It's mental. It's actually mental. Maybe they want to just, I bet you, maybe they just want to replace it with AI. That's probably what they're going to do. Anyway, in fact, no, bollocks to it. They don't even do that. They just release the game and let whatever game it is, whatever update, they just throw it out there and they just let the community find all the problems and go, oh, the game's broke. Let's just go on YouTube and watch a bug montage of, like, I mean, did you guys recently see the state of Symmetra in Overwatch 2? Turrets will disappear on certain movable terrain, but then they won't come back. So like the fidget spinner on Junkertown, if you put your turrets down and the fidget spinner hits them, it doesn't destroy them, it just removes them. And then you can't use that ability for the entire game. It's like, what is that? It's just crazy. Q&A fixes that. But if Q&A are getting battered and paying no money, well, then things are going to slip through, aren't they? And your game's going to be a mess. And remember, if you're meant to be making games as a live service as your primary focus of the company, you need these people. Mental. In total, Ybarra's comments seem to have come off like the defensive barrage of a corporate leader only concerned with the bottom line. There appears to be little interest in validating workers' concerns or working together to find solutions. The general tone of what Ybarra has said could be described as best as stubborn or at worst antagonistic. Now, the thing with this Ybarra guy is he comes from the game industry, and so I think a lot of people were hoping that he wouldn't be some sort of faceless suit who just wants to chase cash, and clearly he is. There's probably pressures put on him from above as well. He wants to keep his job, he wants to keep his money. You know, these are the way things go. It is the harsh reality of the world. So he'll just go out there and say what needs to be said. And then I think a lot of people are feeling like attacked by this because they didn't expect it. You know, this guy's supposed to be similar to them, but really he's not, you know. Anyway, what's different about this meeting? Ever since the state of California filed a lawsuit against Activision Blizzard for allegedly fostering a culture of sexual harassment and discrimination, with anecdotes directly implicating Blizzard Entertainment, employees across the publishing group have weathered 2 years of bad news and ill-met policies. At certain points, they chose to respond to management's decision by walking off the job or, in some cases, unionizing. One source speaking to game developer wanted to stress that today's Q&A with management was the most demoralizing one they'd witnessed since J. Allen Brack made his final internal comments before he departed the company in 2021. The combined comments made during this Q&A painted a picture of management that stunned this source. According to them, Blizzard employees who weathered the last 2 years did so with the belief that the Blizzard Entertainment of today is not the one described in the lawsuit filed by the state of California. They described a sense that many unpopular decisions seen by the public were being made by Activision board above Mike Ybarra and other company leaders. Today's Q&A has changed that belief. They said that hearing the words coming out of Ybarra's mouth made it seem like the unpopular policies and refusal to raise pay were driven by Blizzard's leadership. It feels wrong, they said. Nobody asked for this. No one knows where this came from. Again, like I refer you back to the Twitter. Like, it's like, hey, we're gamers. Woo, woo, we're all in it together. By the way, and I'll come in with all this. This is not the Blizzard we've worked at for the last year and a half. Our sources do not seem to be alone in this belief. The surprise outburst of social media posts from current and former Blizzard employees today is a very unusual sight. Though plenty have felt confident calling out Activision Blizzard and CEO Bobby Kotick over the last 2 years, Ybarra and other members of Blizzard leadership have not faced such ire themselves. It would seem that today's meeting could be a turning point for workers at the studio, but what actions they take now remain uncertain at this time. Given the outburst of anger, one wonders if Blizzard and Ybarra have any second thoughts about how today's Q&A with, according to Activision Blizzard's spokesperson, Blizzard stands by each of these statements and we're proud of Mike's leadership. Right then. So that's Blizzard at the moment, guys. I don't really know what to tell you. Like, I think, you know, I look at, if you want your game to succeed, you need the best possible people on that game, right? And you, as a company, have lost countless talent that you'll never replace, not in 10 years because of the amount of experience that's been lost over the last 2 years. So what you're left with now are people that you should be looking after, all right? And you need to develop these people, or the existing people who are still there, look after them as well, and then start building back up to levels Blizzard were at, especially with Image, within the game development world, to then start attracting good quality developers. I'm not a developer. I speak to some developers every now and again, but, you know, I wouldn't say I've got close developer friends. I just chat to them every now and again. I get bits of insight sent to me, you know, nothing concrete. But the perspective I've got is, if you were in California and you were working for a game company, you probably don't want to be working for Blizzard at all, because you're not going to get paid as much as you will for other companies that are relatively close by and also have major hit games that they can work on. I don't know, like, I think I'm just worried. I'd like to know what you guys think about this in the comments below, because I think I've kind of summed this up. If you treat your workers like crap, they will leave. Blizzard workers have been through the ringer for the last 2 years, and they're hit with this now. So I don't know what's going to happen. I would expect to see more talent leaving Blizzard in critical roles, because the more senior the person, the easier it will be for them to get a job somewhere else. And I'm sure a lot of people now are actively trying to find jobs at other companies, and I'm sure a lot of recruiters at other companies are reaching out to all these developers. It's honestly, it's really sad as like a fan of Blizzard games. All right, guys, thank you for listening and watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it's been informative. I know it's been a pretty long one. It's not really an upbeat video, I guess, but we need to talk about this when it happens, because it impacts the games we play. All right, guys, catch you on the next one. See you soon.